these gentlemen coming up next, they put a lot of money on the line. That's right. They don't get in that ring, but they make sure those fights get put together, and we're talking promoters. So when we come back, a lot of great promoters in 2020. We can only pick one winner. Promoter of the Year category up next, Hakim Barak Award Show for 2020. Don't move. We'll be right back. All right, we're back. It's Hakim Barak, Sirius SM Fight Nation. This is a special edition of the Hakim Barak Award Show for 2020. We're talking about the guys behind the scenes, the shot callers that putting everything together despite of this pandemic. We got to get into Promoter of the Year nominees.
Promoter of the Year. Here are the nominees.
Listen, we would have to nominate first the promoter that brought boxing back, and that's the promoter that's been involved in the sport longer than anybody, right? The Bob father, Mr. Bob Arum himself, and Top Rank Promotions brought boxing back in June, and not only brought it back, they brought it back like every few days. Every 3 days there was a boxing event in the MGM bubble, and a lot of fighters that normally wouldn't get an opportunity to fight on ESPN on a national broadcast got the opportunity. And we saw some diamonds in the rough there. There was fighters out there, guys like Clay Collard, who is an MMA fighter, who started shining and getting fights from those cards. He was bold, he was safe, and Bob Arum is one of our nominees for Promoter of the Year.
Absolutely. You got to nominate the guy that had the guts to bring boxing back, the guts to learn all of the protocol first, and then everybody else mimic that, and eventually things get better in time as you continue to have more and more experience. So I second that nomination for Bob. The second nominee is somebody who's been in the game for a while as well, and that's Don King. No, I'm just joking.
Okay.
That is... This particular person, he's like an overseer because he's not really a promoter. He's actually a manager, an advisor. But because of him, Mayweather Promotion promotes fighters. Mayweather Promotion promoted Deontay Wilder fight, even though Deontay Wilder's not signed to them. TGB Promotions will promote fighters. Tom Brown will promote fighters. So he is definitely an overseer. He probably has the biggest stable as a manager in boxing. And this is why every time you talk about promotional company, he has to be mentioned. And that's the infamous Al Heyman.
This particular nominee, Barak, we've worked with him. He does a weekly hit on our show. 2018, he did something very bold, and he was very confident in coming to America and bringing a streaming sports platform to America with a ton of money to make a statement. We knew it wasn't going to be easy. There were going to be a lot of bumps in the road. So he started becoming very credible here, even in 2018. 2019 was a huge year, but for this particular year, 2020, we're not going to keep mentioning, we're going to keep mentioning the pandemic because that's the hurdle that all the promoters had to leap over. That's the hurdle that some people felt like, hey, I don't think boxing's going to come back this year at all. I remember listening to those conversations where people said, I don't see boxing coming back at all this year. And here's a guy, when you hear him in interviews, he's always said, no, I'm being optimistic about this. I believe boxing will be back. It will be strong. We will put on those fights that everybody wants to see. And as Barak mentioned earlier, Bob Arum started off, Dana White in the MMA world, and Eddie Hearn in Matchroom Boxing followed right back. He even risked his own place, and he brought boxers and teams over to his backyard to start fights without spectators. So he was heavily involved in it. But the thing that stands out the most with Mr. Eddie Hearn was that when Canelo Alvarez blew up the sport, the face of boxing, lawsuits against Dazn and Oscar De La Hoya freeing himself up, people had no idea where Canelo was going to fight next, who he was going to fight next. It was up in the air. Everybody was scrambling. There were other networks, other promoters throwing offers at Canelo Alvarez, some sources tell us. And guess what? He was the guy that brought Canelo back to the ring in 2020 and brought him back to the zone, as we saw last Saturday. Canelo Alvarez defeat Callum Smith. It was a tough task. We don't know how he did it. We don't know how much money was involved, how much convincing, how much selling, but he was able to get it done. Big task. So Eddie Hearn is a nominee for Promoter of the Year.
Now, our last nominee for this particular category is none other than former fighter, 10-time champion, they say. I haven't went back and counted. I believe it's 6 weight divisions, and his name is the Golden Boy, Oscar De La Hoya. Now, though he had his problems with Canelo, he brought Canelo to where he is. And just like a lot of these fighters who were fighting under other banners, he brought them up in the game. You know, the Deontay Wilders and the Adrian Broners and the, Danny Garcias and guys like that. You know, but this particular year, he has 3 young stars that he's nurturing. And these guys are on the brink of amazing success according to their talent and according to the way they're promoted and showcased, which is so important for a promotional company. And Golden Boy Promotion has been doing an incredible job with Ryan Garcia. And it just so happens that he's also the kind of guy that promotes himself. They also got Virgil Ortiz, who just fought this year. He fought Samuel Vargas in July, and also Jaime Munguia, who fought Terriano Johnson earlier this year. And Ryan Garcia has actually had 2 fights in 2020. So that's why Golden Boy Promotions, Oscar De La Hoya, is another nominee.
All right, so we're going to have to pick a winner.
Yeah.
Tough ask from us, because all of these guys did a phenomenal job in 2020, but there could only be one winner. Take a listen.
And the winner is Eddie Hearn.
I'm sitting here now, to be honest with you, I'm choking up inside with emotion. To win this award as Promoter of the Year is probably my finest moment. I mean, forget Froch beating Bute in Nottingham. Forget Vladimir Klitschko against Anthony Joshua, 90,000 people at Wembley. Forget filling up Madison Square Garden for Joshua Ruiz, or even staging the first mega fight in the Middle East. To be honest, sometimes a moment in your career arises that you'll remember for the rest of your life. And tonight, I accept this award with immense pride. I accept this award for my family and the sacrifices I've made. And I hope you look at this award, in the 49 weeks of the year that I'm away from the home, and realise it's all been worth it. Because, there's Hall of Fame awards, but this certainly is a moment in my career that I will never forget. So I thank the people for your support. I thank Akan Barak as well. I thank Dazn. And 2021, this will be hard to top. But after struggling this year with the pandemic and, of course, going through COVID myself, this makes it all worthwhile. And again, I thank you. Thank you.
All right, and there you have it. Well deserved, Barack. I mean, it was tough considering all that Bob Arum did, but I think the biggest task was completed by Mr. Eddie Hearn.
I say if you're a nominee, you're a winner.
True.
But there only could be one winner. But if you're a nominee, you was respected by your peers and everybody else who are fans, because this is just not Akan Barak. We have a whole team that deliberated on this, and here you have it.